The clip hit the internet at 3:17 p.m. on a Tuesday. By 3:18, it was in every group chat at Ridgewood High, and by 3:20, Jonah Washington had already seen it 6 times. He sat on the toilet lid in the Art Wing bathroom, knees to his chest, phone glowing like a coal against his face. The video looped. His father, 6'3", 240, still built like the linebacker he'd been at Florida State, lifting a skinny sophomore off the cafeteria floor by the collar and driving one clean right hand into the kid's cheek. The bully's head snapped sideways, tray clattering, milk carton exploding across the linoleum. Darnell's voice, low and lethal. "Touch my son again. I dare you." Jonah's stomach folded in on itself. He thumbed the screen dark, but the sound kept playing behind his eyes. The comments underneath were worse. Heroes. Legend. About time somebody taught these punks. Someone had already stitched it with the Rocky theme. He slipped out the side door before fifth period, sketchbook under his arm, and walked the 3 miles home through the November chill. Across town, Angela Washington was in the middle of a deposition when her phone buzzed against her thigh. She ignored it until the witness asked for a break. One glance at the preview and the room tilted. She excused herself, heels clicking down the marble hallway of the courthouse, and watched the clip in a stairwell that smelled of bleach and old coffee. 30 seconds. That was all it took to torch the fragile custody arrangement she'd spent 18 months negotiating. She dialed Darnell, straight to voicemail, of course. He was probably still at the precinct, giving a statement or refusing to give one. She could never predict which version of him would show up on a given day. Angela closed her eyes, counted to 5 the way her own therapist had taught her, and called the school. Tori answered on the second ring. "Mom, it's everywhere," her daughter whispered. "They're showing it in the dance studio between classes. Coach made us watch it like it was some motivational reel. Stay put. I'm coming." Angela's Prius cut through the tree-lined streets of Ridgewood, past colonial houses flying early Christmas flags, past the Starbucks where the baristas now knew her order by heart. Grande cold brew, no room, because sleep was a rumor. She parked in the visitor lot and found Tori in the auditorium lobby, dance bags slung over one shoulder, eyes red but dry. They're calling Dad a hero, but they're also calling Jonah a snitch. Angela pulled her daughter into a hug that smelled of coconut oil and teenage sweat. "Where's your brother?" "Art room. He won't answer texts." They found Jonah cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by shredded construction paper. Someone had taken a box cutter to every canvas on the back wall, his mural of the marching band, the one he'd spent 6 weeks on for the spring showcase. The word faggot was spray-painted in dripping red across the snare drums. Tori's hand flew to her mouth. Angela felt the familiar rage spark behind her eyes, the same one that had kept her married to Darnell for 12 years and divorced from him for 2. She knelt, touched the edge of a torn canvas. Jonah didn't look up. "I just wanted to finish it," he said to the floor, "before colleges saw my portfolio." Angela's voice came out steadier than she felt. "We're going home." That night, the local news van parked across the street. Channel 9's rising star, Marisol Vega, stood under the floodlight in a camel coat, microphone gleaming. Behind her, a graphic screamed, "Dad beats bully, justice or jail time." Darnell came home after midnight, smelling of precinct coffee and cigarette smoke he swore he'd quit. He dropped his keys in the bowl by the door, Angela's bowl from the house they used to share, and stood in the foyer like a man waiting for permission to exist. "I didn't know the phones were out," he said. Angela blocked the hallway so the kids wouldn't hear. "You never know the phones are out, Darnell. That's the problem." "I saw the little bastard shove Jonah into a locker. Kids got bruises shaped like fingerprints." "And now the whole world has a front row seat to your temper?" She kept her voice low, lethal. Judge Keller bumped the custody hearing to next week, said the escalating public nature of our family requires immediate review. Darnell rubbed a hand over his fade. I protected my son. You protected your ego. The words tasted like rust. She hated how true they were. Upstairs, Tori blasted music through her headphones. Jonah drew in the dark, pages filling with charcoal storms. By morning, Marisol Vega had a GoFundMe for the bully's dental work and a podcast episode titled When Parents Snap. The bully, Tyler McKinney, 17, lacrosse scholarship pending, gave an exclusive from his couch, neck brace photogenically askew. I was just joking around. Jonah's sensitive. The comments flipped overnight. Monster. Thug. Typical. Angela's firm put her on indefinite leave. Conflict of interest, they said gently. She spent the day on the phone with Crisis PR, the ACLU, and a therapist who specialized in viral trauma. None of them had answers that fit inside a soundbite. Darnell took Jonah to the hardware store for plywood to board up the vandalized mural. They came home with primer instead. Jonah wanted to paint over the hate and start fresh. Darnell didn't argue. That afternoon, Angela found them in the garage. Father and son, shoulder to shoulder, rolling white across the scars. Sunlight slanted through the open door and caught the dust motes like glitter. For a moment, the scene looked almost peaceful. Then Marisol Vega appeared at the curb, cameraman in tow. Mr. Washington, care to comment on the allegations of excessive force? Darnell's roller stopped mid-stroke. Jonah's shoulders curled inward. Angela stepped between them and the lens. No comment. Please leave our property. Marisol smiled the way sharks do. The public has a right to know if their hero's a danger to his own kids. Angela's pulse hammered in her ears. She thought of every closing argument she'd ever made, every jury she'd swayed with logic and precedent. None of it worked on a woman paid by the click. She closed the garage door in Marisol's face. Inside, Darnell's hands shook as he set the roller down. I should have hit him harder. Jonah looked up, paint on his cheek like war paint. Don't. The word hung between them, small but unbreakable. That night, Angela drafted a motion to seal the custody file. She stayed up until the birds started arguing outside her window, citing privacy statutes, the children's psychological evaluations, the First Amendment's limits when minors are involved. She hit send at 4:57 a.m. and stared at the ceiling until her alarm screamed. The judge denied it by 9. Ridgewood High suspended Jonah for inciting the altercation. Tyler McKinney got 3 days for vandalism, served in school so he wouldn't miss practice. The principal, a man who golfed with Tyler's father, sent a condolence card to the Washingtons. Inside, we regret the misunderstanding. Tori quit the dance team. Her coach posted a passive-aggressive Instagram story about commitment. Angela scheduled a restorative circle through the county's juvenile justice program. Voluntary. Off-record, no cameras. She invited Tyler, his parents, the 2 friends who'd filmed the fight, Jonah, Tori, Darnell, and herself. The facilitator, a soft-spoken woman named Dr. Patel, promised a safe container. Darnell laughed when Angela told him, "You want me in a room with that kid? I'll meditate him into next week. You'll show up or you'll lose visitation. Judge's orders." He showed up. They met in the basement of the public library, folding chairs in a circle under flickering fluorescents. Tyler wore the neck brace like a trophy. His mother kept patting his knee. Jonah sat between his parents, knees bouncing. Tori stared at the floor. Dr. Patel started with the rules. Speak from the eye, no interrupting. Tissues on the table for a reason. She passed a smooth river stone. Whoever held it got the floor. Tyler's father went first. My son made a mistake, but that man, he jabbed a finger at Darnell, committed assault. Darnell's jaw flexed. Angela laid a hand on his forearm. Wait. Jonah took the stone with trembling fingers. I drew a comic about Tyler, he said, voice cracking. It was stupid. I posted it in the group chat. He saw it and shoved me, called me names. I didn't think it would go this far. Tyler's turn. He rolled the stone between his palms. I was mad. My girlfriend broke up with me because of that comic. Everyone laughed at me. His voice broke. I wanted him to feel small. Tori spoke next, surprising them all. You made my brother cry in the bathroom. He's 14. You're supposed to be the adult here. She looked at Tyler's parents. You raised him to think that's okay? Silence pooled thick as paint. Darnell took the stone last. He turned it over, thumb tracing the grooves. I grew up in Liberty City. You didn't wait for grown-ups to handle your problems. You handled them. I saw red when I saw bruises on my boy. I reacted. I'm sorry I hurt you, but I'm not sorry I protected him. Dr. Patel asked what each person needed to move forward. Tyler wanted the comic deleted and a public apology. Jonah wanted his mural restored and Tyler to help paint it. Darnell wanted supervised visits until he completed anger management. Angela wanted the cameras gone. They compromised. Tyler and his friends would help Jonah repaint the mural, under supervision, after school. Darnell would attend 8 weeks of therapy and refrain from physical discipline. The families would issue a joint statement. Mistakes were made, lessons learned, privacy requested. Marisol Vega got wind of the agreement and spun it into clickbait. Bully and dad team up, forced labor or forgiveness. The school board reinstated Jonah. The dance coach begged Tori to return. She told him she'd think about it. 2 weeks later, the mural rose from the ashes. Jonah sketched the outline, the marching band mid-performance, but now the drummer was Tyler, lacrosse stick swapped for drumsticks. Tyler's friends mixed paint and learned the difference between burnt sienna and raw umber. Darnell stood guard at the door, arms crossed, but didn't interfere when Tyler asked Jonah how to blend skin tones. Marisol showed up on day 3. Darnell met her at the curb. No cameras, he said. It's a public school. It's my son's healing. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. The linebacker was still in there, but the father was learning to leash him. Marisol lowered her microphone. Off record, what's this really about? Darnell considered. Teaching my kids the world ain't fair, but we still choose how we show up in it. She aired a 30-second clip that night. Just the mural, no narration. The comments shifted again. Maybe there's another way. The custody hearing arrived on a sleet, slick Monday. Judge Keller, a black woman who'd grown up 2 blocks from Darnell's old neighborhood, listened to the restorative circle report, the therapy attendance logs, the joint statement. She looked at Jonah and Tori, seated between their parents. Children, she said, what do you want? Jonah spoke first. I want Dad at my art show next month, and I want to finish the mural without looking over my shoulder. Tori added, I want to dance again, but not if it means pretending none of this happened. Judge Keller closed her file. Joint custody remains. Mr. Washington will complete the mandated therapy. Mrs. Washington will oversee the community service component. The family will attend monthly mediation check-ins for 1 year. Case closed. Outside the courthouse, snow had started to stick. Marisol waited on the steps, but no one gave her a quote. Darnell lifted Jonah onto his shoulders like he was 6 again. Tori linked arms with Angela. They walked to the parking lot as a unit, footprints overlapping in the fresh white. Later, Angela found Darnell in the garage, sanding the edges of a frame for Jonah's first college submission piece. You know, the viral hero thing could have been your brand. Podcast deals, energy drink endorsements. He blew sawdust from the wood. I got a better offer. Yeah? Being their dad, full-time. Angela smiled, the first real one in weeks. Don't screw it up. I'm a work in progress. Spring came early. The mural won a regional award. Tyler's lacrosse team made playoffs. He dedicated his first goal, to the kid who taught me how to hold a paintbrush. Tori choreographs a piece about breaking and rebuilding. She performed it at the talent show, with Jonah running lights. Darnell sat in the front row, hands clasped so tight his knuckles blanched, and didn't stand up once. Marisol Vega moved on to a story about a city councilman and a missing parrot. The internet forgot the Washingtons, the way it forgets everything. Quickly, completely, until the next outrage. But in the quiet spaces, therapy offices, library basements, garage workshops, the healing kept happening, one careful layer at a time. Public spectacle had threatened to define them. They chose the harder story instead.